Hi, my name is Sheetal and welcome to my YouTube channel. How to work efficiently from home. I have two kids. One is 8 years old and one is 1 year old. So it's all mayhem all the time at home. And in between all this, I still have to put in a full day's work. And my husband's also working from home right now. Earlier he wasn't. So there are a lot of combinations that have changed, of course. But over time, I had worked out a few tips and tricks which helped me give in a good day's work, even while working from home, as good as when I was going to office. Of course, I've had to tweak many of them with the current scenario, with a lot of things changing. Our workloads have increased both at work as well as at home, of course. And there is no timing, no boundaries with kids around. I mean, I can obviously reason with my 8 year old, but with my 1 year old, there's just no reasoning. When she wants to see me, she wants to see me because there's nobody else around to really, um, entertain her, so to speak. So there's been a lot of changes that have come in recently, and I've had to adapt based on those. I don't claim to have all the answers. These are just a few things that I have seen work for me. I thought I would share them here so that it would help any one of you in any which way. I would be very glad about that. And in case you have some other tips and tricks that you have worked out, please do let me know in the comments section. I would really love to know them. So without further ado, let's start. There are these myths, so to speak, that some people have, or maybe not exactly myths, it's more of anxiety and a certain negative feeling that I cannot do good work while I'm working from home. Initially, I also used to have them because you're used to having a certain structure to your workday and you just don't have it anymore. So it took a few trial and errors, and I'm sure you'll also have to go through the same because your condition and your situation, your family dynamics, everything might be different. But however much this will help you, I will be very glad. The first one that I can think of is make work plans for the next day. This was something I never used to do before, even while I was working from office. Nowadays, what I do is a day prior, I actually sit down and note down what all I have to do the next day, maybe even for the next few days, so that I can prioritize everything, so that I'm not worried over the night and even while I'm feeding dinner to the kids or whatever it might be. I also make sure to take a look at the calendar next day because sometimes when you're running after everything at home, you can just lose track of time and you don't realize that there was a 9 o'clock call and suddenly you realize that that was there and it's already gone. So that is one thing I make sure I check. Second thing is dressing for work. That is something I feel has turned out to be an absolute must. You know that when you just spend the whole day in your pajamas or your very comfortable homeware or loungewear, you really feel in very lethargic and you just want to rest. You really don't want to go in and do work. So these days, what I do is I work for. I mean, I dress for work, but it will be something that's comfortable as well because I have to run after my kids. I have to do stuff at home. It's not it's something you cannot just expect to stay pristine throughout, but that dressing up and sometimes even makeup, just the war paint helps because every day you're going in for war, it helps. Then the third thing I have seen is that uh, this is something I've recently started doing. I've started blocking out my time in the calendar. Now, when I say blocking out, I meant you can mark it as private time, but including time taken for your lunch or the time for your kids' meal time or something that is where you need to be doing something, you need to be doing something and you're not available for your work or colleagues or meetings, please block it out on your calendar so that you do not have clashing meetings and then having to give explanations and things like that. The fourth thing I think is that just accept the fact that you have a lot of work right now, which you have to balance throughout with the lockdown situation. And you have to be ready to work a little longer hours for work. What I mean by that is what earlier you could do in like 5 hours time in time measured from say 10 o'clock in the morning till say 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, that doesn't happen anymore because you have n number of interruptions coming now. So what you can do instead is take it in stride, understand and be flexible with your timing. Realize that there's no office time or work time and house time or kids time anymore. They are all blurred. The lines are all blurred right now, and you just don't have an option. So gracefully accept it, work around it, take that also into your day, and then accordingly you will have to reschedule or shift everything so that your work hours might be coming a little more later in the day. That's okay. Just go with the flow. Don't take it as if, oh no, I'm having to work so many hours in a day right now. That is the reality. You just can't help it. You still need to deliver both at home and at work. So just go with it. After that, a suggestion I would have, this has become easier now because everybody is on lockdown world over, people are much more sensitive to the fact that you have uh, kids at home. They might come and interrupt you. Earlier, most people used to be very hesitant to come on calls, or they would in the whole time be very hesitant to have a call from home because they didn't want their kids interrupting. But one thing I had noticed about this is that now the situation is very different. Just go ahead, own up, and say that your kids are around. You don't have childcare support. So, in case you hear any kind of noise in between, please forgive. That is your kid. And if they do come and interrupt you, ask the audience, inform them about it, tell them that just give me a moment, put yourself on mute, deal with it, get back into it, go with the stride. Just take it in stride rather. There's nothing wrong. You can just go ahead, and they understand. They really do. Another thing is, again, something that I have recently taken up before the lockdown, but something that I've seen is helping me along is bullet journaling. So bullet journaling, you can just look it up on YouTube or anywhere. It's very, very famous. You probably already know about it, so I'm not going to spend time explaining about it. But I've seen that with my thoughts, the way they run throughout the day, it's kind of easier to do it in a bullet journal form than in any other method. And the chances of me forgetting something is turning out to be lesser when I actually follow it. Of course, it takes a little bit of rehearsals and not rehearsals, a little bit of time to get into that routine. But once you're there, it's easier. Another thing is, which is absolutely imperative when you have kids, especially the smaller ones at home, schedule and religiously follow some kind of a nap time or a quiet time, and then schedule maximum of your calls or productive work within that time frame, because that's the only assured time of uninterrupted work you will get. So make sure that you don't spend that in household chores or cooking and stuff like that, because that you can still do while kids are running around. It's easier. But your actual work where you really need to sit and do something and without any kind of interruption, try and do it then. Um, then the next thing would be intelligent use of screen time. That is something that has been a little bit of a learning curve for me, because I used to hate giving my kids too much screen time. So, see, earlier it used to be easier. Now, unfortunate fact, you just can't get away from screen time. It is inevitable because you don't have anybody else to support you, and your kids also. How long can you keep them inside the house without letting them go outside and play? And there's a limit to how many things you can get them to do. After some time, they will ask for TV or what. I stick to TV. I don't try and give them phones and stuff like that, because then that just goes out of my hand. So I do let them watch TV, but one thing I've kind of figured out how to do now is don't let them watch it from morning to evening. Keep it as a kind of ammunition or arsenal that you have in your kitty, and use it or during those times when you need, again, a time of peace. Might be because of some call, it might be for some work that you have to do and you don't want to be interrupted. That is the time to give them that screen time, so that they'll be happy, you'll also be happy. Then the next thing would be, now this was mostly to do with the work part of it, but especially now with lockdown, like I said, there are no boundaries anymore. So the things that come into the picture along with this, household chores and cooking. Now, household chores and cooking, the thing that I've realized is that you need to have solid routines in place. You cannot afford to be more laid back about it. That was how I used to be, because I used to have help at home. Now you can't. You are the only person running around doing everything. Of course, your spouse is also there, but what I meant is you don't have any help otherwise. So you have to make sure that you have some sort of routines in place. Like I do my cleaning before my kids are up in the morning. and my husband and I do it. Actually, mostly my husband does it in the morning because I'm more of a night person, so I tend to do most of my work in the night, whereas he's more of a morning person. So that's our trade off. Then through the day, I concentrate more on the rest of it, like cooking as well as my office work. Now, cooking again is something that you can do a lot of smart cooking, is something that I've realized that you can do. When I say smart cooking, what I mean by that is, there are these um, lots of tips, tricks, hacks, a lot of things that you will see on the net, on YouTube. Please read up or research a bit. You will get a lot of lovely ones, and then there are a few that I myself have figured out. Like one thing that is used everywhere is, for example, onions. So if almost any Indian dish that you make, the first set of activities will always be take some onions, peel the skin off, cut them, whatever, chop them finely, thin slices, long slices, whatever it might be. Then put it in oil, sweat it down, either brown them or just sweat it down until they are more like the glassy finish. Now, this whole process for every single dish, every single day, takes at least 10-15 minutes, and that's the minimum. So what I've now figured out is that, what I do is I peel and chop many onions together in a go. I put them all into one microwave proof dish of, like one of those Borosil kind of dishes, big ones, and I pour oil over them, a reasonable amount. I'm not like dunking it in oil or anything, reasonable amount of oil in it. And then I just put it in the microwave, and on high, I microwave it for about 8 to 12 minutes, depending on how much of onions you have in it and how much you want it to sweat down. And I keep stirring like every, say, 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes. And they come out really well. And then what I do is I take whatever is needed for that day's dish, and then the remaining I just put it in some vessel, some dabba, might be plastic, might be glass, whatever you have on hand, put it into the fridge. Next day, when I have to take for the dishes, I take this onion with oil, and half the time I don't even have to add new oil. It's just the same thing I put it in, and then I make it with that. It comes out very well. So that's something you can do. That's an example that I said. There are a lot of these such tricks. Another friend of yours during this time is a microwave. Use microwave not just to reheat, but please use it for cooking. The greatest advantage is you don't have to stand right there supervising it. You can be running around after your kid and at the same time be cooking all this. All you need to do is when that sound goes off, go in and maybe stir it and then put it on for a little bit more. But that's about it. You don't have to stand there and be there. Right now you have very few people doing everything. So the more you can be invisible around things, better it is. Then the other things, I'm sure many of these are things that you know and probably already do, but try and make snacks for kids a little in advance. Try and meal plan. At least 1 or 2 days in advance would be great. And then even things like toasted nuts, you can toast it in microwave again, or making ragi balls, ragi laddus, or things that will stay for a bit, at least till the next day or 2 days maybe. That makhana you can always you roast them and keep it, put a little ghee and do that. Those kind of things are things that you can give your kids without any sort of uh, you know uh, any guilt that you're giving them junk. Anyway, getting junk is also a little difficult during this lockdown, but still. So those things again, then you can soak things in the same vessel that you're planning to cook them. So keep them soaked in that same vessel. Say if it's a pressure cooker, next day morning cook it in the same thing. So that way you're reducing the number of dishes, and I don't know, somehow it feels easier. Another so, like I said, there are a lot of these tips and tricks that are there, but I don't want to keep going into it. This video is already becoming long. I don't want to do that. Or if any of you are interested, please let me know in the comment section, and I will try and work on more videos or maybe some blog posts for this. Sorry, for this, and then we can go ahead with this. So one thing I forgot, not exactly forgot, but then one thing I wanted to touch on during this time was your mental health, things that you can do for that. The situation that we are facing right now is unprecedented. Nobody's, I can't say nobody's gone through it. We've never gone through it. It's something that's so new for us, and it is pretty scary for us, honestly speaking. Not just on a health front. Obviously, you're worried about yourself, you're worried about your family, you're worried about your extended family, friends, relatives, all of them. That's one part of it. Again, you're, even after this whole thing is done, you're worried about the economic conditions that are going to come afterwards. You're not sure if you're going to have a job after this. You might be worried, how are you going to take care of your kids, your other responsibilities after this? How do you honor that loan that you've taken? Hundreds of worries that are going through your head right now. But the thing is, especially if you have kids around, you cannot afford to let them show, because you are the rock solid support or strong person for them. You are the one who's going to, supposed to, make them also feel good. So because of that, you are always in this bubble that you have to build around yourself and then keep yourself within it. But this takes a toll, this takes a heavy toll on you. So you need to figure out a few ways to get around it, not get around it, but a few ways to help you navigate this time without really breaking down. Because on top of all of the worry, the saddest fact about this time, I feel, is a fact that you really can't reach out to anyone. I've gone through the Kerala floods as well. In fact, my delivery, my second baby's delivery happened right in the middle of it, smack in the middle. And those were really testing times too. I was really scared, because here I was getting ready for my delivery. I'm not even sure if I can reach a hospital. I'm seeing every day on TV, I'm seeing visuals of, pregnant women being airlifted to go take her to the hospital and all of that. So it's really worrying. Every day morning I used to like get up really anxious, because I could hear the sound of the rains, and I knew that the rains hadn't, at any point in time let down, or rather, let up. Sorry, not let down, let up. So because of that, those were really testing times too. But the one advantage during that time, and the one, what do you say, one big thing that you could hold on to, was that people could run to your rescue. Yeah, you might need a rescue, but people would be there, right there. You just need to reach out, and they are right there. You could still go to the next house. It was not a problem. Right now, the condition, the saddest thing is, you just can't reach out to anyone. Of course, you can have calls. What I meant is, so all of this takes a really heavy toll on you. Because of this, one thing you need to do is get some systems and supports in place which will help you through this time. Now, I'll quickly run through a couple I could think of. One is, start writing a journal. If you haven't at any point in time, it's okay. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare's creation. You are not trying to show it to anyone but yourself, but start doing it. Unfortunately, that's the only non judgmental and the one source where you can pour out all your worries without having to worry that you are going to worry that person now. I know it's a lot of worries, but that's how it is. So, because of all of this, I think journaling is something that can really help you right now. Just start writing things down. Don't show it to anyone, it's just for your own use, but do it. It'll really help. And or there are some people who just can't like relate to writing. I've seen a few people who make video journals also. So that if that's what makes sense for you, you can do that as a video journal, audio journal, whatever it might be. But make sure that you take the time to process through your thoughts and your feelings, and the tension, the fears that you might be having. Make sure you do that. Second thing, now this is not just for mental health during lockdown, anytime, especially when you have kids around. Try and get somehow or the other some alone time, some me time, or meditative time, whatever you want to call it, and breathe through it. I'm not talking about breathing, exercises alone. If you can do them, well and good. If you can't do meditation, even then, well and good. But take a moment, breathe calmly without having to think about anything. Have a cup of coffee. Figure out a time for it, whether it's early in the morning, whether it's late in the night. Put everyone off to sleep, or whether it is during the nap time, whatever. Make sure you grab that. I've noticed that the difference between the days when I get that and the days that I don't is huge, and my kids get to know because I take it out on them. Sad but true. I'm also human. And then, um, from a couple perspective, couple time is also something that's extremely important. Just 2 minutes of time, but make sure you get that together. You can just sit down and, or be in the kitchen cooking together, doesn't matter. Just a time when you can kind of open up to each other, even if it is just to, kind of like touch each other's hands and say, don't worry, this time will also pass. That is very important. Then, this I'm sure most of you are already doing, but video call your friends and family most importantly, because again, your parents, mine for example, are not with me right now. My parents as well as my in-laws, both of them are back in Kerala, and I am tense for them. I'm sure they are tense for us. And this daily time, so now we've made it like, earlier it used to be just phone calls mostly, and then once in a while would be video calls, but now religiously we do video calls, because that's our one way of reaching out to them, and they have their own fears right now, so we need to make sure that we reach out and reassure them as well, and we have our own fears regarding them, so this is your chance of doing. So whichever way it is, try and, if possible, make video calls itself. If not, at least normal calls. That feeling of connection you get with your family and your friends is something that will see you through this time. Then, one survival technique I would say throughout, especially now, is dance. Dance, maybe with your kids, maybe alone. Dance like a fool, dance like no one's watching. Because honestly, right now, probably no one's watching. But it will take away a lot of your energy. I mean, not take away, it will channelize your energy. It will take away your tensions. You will feel much more refreshed. And that exercise and that heart pumping and all will give you all those feel good hormones that they talk about, which will all help you through this time. Another thing which is very important is have some sort of a set time or time interval for your social media and news. Both of those are things that can give you a lot of anxiety. Both of them can be very informative and supportive too. So you need to do it, but have a certain boundary for it. Don't let it take a toll on you through the day, because it will eat into your time with your family, your kids, your housework, and your office work. So have some boundaries for that. And then on top of all of this, your kids also need your time, your space. So you need to allay their fears as well, because I'm sure right now is not an easy time for them at all. They've suddenly abruptly had to say goodbye to a lot of their friends. They have no idea when they'll be able to see them anymore. They are not being allowed to go and play. They have all of this pent up energy at home, which they just don't have an avenue to take out. They are also hearing a lot of news, and your anxieties are probably starting to show in the way you interact with them. I know every time I put on the news channel and I hear some news, and even if they haven't heard the news, I would be tense. And in my reactions to my daughter, especially my elder one, that starts coming out, because I lose patience very fast, because I am still worried about what I heard on the news channel. So it's, you need to take time off. You need to sit them down and explain in some way that they understand. Don't make them completely unaware of the situation, but you need to allay their fears, make it understandable for them. So you need to help them, but don't patronize them. Kids these days are really smart. They need you, they need your help, but don't try to make it into a favor. Try and spend time with them, no matter how much ever work you have piling up, whether it is at your office work or whether it is your housework, whatever it might be. Consciously take a break and give it exclusively for the kids. They need that time with you, because right now you are their only connection to the world. That's the only permanent, or thing that hasn't changed, that is not going to change as far as they are concerned. That's the only rock bottom, that's the only ground they know right now. So please make sure that you honor that you make them feel that no matter what, I'm there for you, we are there for you. So we are in this together, no matter what. This is a time when they really need to be able to get that. Out of all of these different things that I've told you today, I'm not saying that you'll be able to do it every single day, all of them. Even I don't get to do them every single day. But I try and do as many as possible every day. Because the days that I don't get to do some of them, I can really tell. So here's hoping that this helped you in some way or the other. Like I said, this is my very first YouTube video, so there might have been mistakes. I'm sure there have been tons of them, but the reason why I did this right now was because I felt this could really help at least a few people. So I hope you will all listen to this whole video and like it. If possible, subscribe to it. Let me know in the comment section what else you would like to know, what more you want me to talk about or show or whatever it might be, and I'll definitely try and do it. Thank you. Bye. See you soon.